What's up, YouTube? My name is Big Boy Snatch Shine TV, aka Wakanda Snatch One, because I got playing around. As you can tell by the title, the thumbnail, in the video, this is my AEW Dynamite review on how. So if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys please watch the video from all the way from the beginning or towards the end. Hit that like button, subscribe to my channel for more wrestling content I do on the channel. Go check out my WWE NXT review on how I did on the channel last night. So without further ado, let's get started. Now AEW Dynamite was a good show, and I give that show a 7.5 out of 10. Alright, AEW Dynamite was live from Greensboro, North Carolina, First Horizon Center. Commentary hypes up the lineup for tonight's special edition of Dynamite, revealing that we kick off with the first ever women's blood and guts match. Y'all should have put the women's blood and guts match in the main event, and then do the men's blood and guts match first, and then you can do the women's blood and guts match last. That way it gives more time. That's all I gotta say. That's just my opinion. Anyway, we head to ringside as Justin Roberts go over the rules for the match as the special cage lowers over double ring setup. With that, the first participants for this match comes out as Sky Blue makes her entrance. Out next is Willow Nightingale. We get things on the way. So we get the women's blood and guts match: Mercedes Moné, Megan Bayne, Maria Shafir, and the Triangle of Madness versus Chris Statlander, Tony Storm, Willow Nightingale, Mina Shakira, Jamie Hayter, and Harley Cameron. This was a good match and brutal and physical at the same time, but this first match right here should have been main evented. That's just my opinion. Alright. Sky Blue and Willow Nightingale stare each other down in separate rings, each gathering a weapon before going at it, and that leads to them exchanging strikes. Willow has the upper hand as she sends Willow into the corner for some forearm strikes, pulling her by the hair to the mat. The action spills to the outer ring area where Sky Blue starts slamming Willow Nightingale against the cage until Willow Nightingale fights back to bring her back in the ring itself. It doesn't take long for the action to go right back out before Willow sends Sky Blue face first into the side of the cage. She keeps on the attack before posing on the turnbuckle to a nice pop for the crowd. Willow stays on the attack with some more strikes, sending Sky Blue to the other ring to inflict some more pain. Sky Blue has been busted open for the cage to face, and it's not getting any better. It's not getting any better as Will Nightingale brings her to the corner. Sky Blue fights off a superplex attempt as the countdown brings out the next participant, Julia Hart. She makes a beeline for the ring, making the save before she and Sky Blue drop Willow with a double powerbomb. Julia Hart sends Willow Nightingale to the corner, slamming her face against the turnbuckle before going old school to drop Willow to the mat. Willow managed to escape to the other ring as Sky Blue and Julia Hart look for something. Inside the turnbuckle pass, it's unclear if they found what they were looking for instead, going back after Willow Nightingale as the countdown brings out the next participant, Harley Cameron. She comes out with a chair, going right after Sky Blue upon entering the cage and then laying out Julia Hart. She escapes a double suplex attempt Willow Nightingale to take out the Sisters of Sin. She and Harley Cameron set up Julia Hart in a trio bowl with a steel chair. Twist and Harley Cameron gets in assist for a dropkick on Julia Hart before Willow Nightingale follows suit for a cannonball on Sky Blue as we go to a commercial break. Back from commercial break, Willow drops Julia with a pounce as the countdown brings out our next participants. The Carlos heading down the round out the Triangle of Madness. She fends off Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale, but a bit of help from her belt, allowing the Triangle to take control, sending the babies of Wrath. The countdown brings out the next participants as Jamie Hayter makes a beeline for the ring, using a trash can lid. She finds off the Triangle before using the barbed wire kendo stick Sky Blue brings out for more damage. The caller goes after the former Women's World Champion, who sends the Toxic Spider onto a pile of thumbtacks for a good measure, as the countdown brings out our next participants in Megan Bayne, with Penelope Ford right alongside her. Megan Bayne lays out Jamie Hayter before going after Will Nightingale and Harley Cameron. Landon splashes on both of the corner. Double suplex connects, sending the bad beast of Wrath to the canvas before Jamie Hayter intervenes to exchange strikes with the Magnus. Megan Bain draws Jamie Hayter not once but twice before Harley Cameron attacks her with a trash can lid to over Noah Wall. Megan Bain lands a scoop slam, sending Harley Cameron onto the lid as the countdown brings out our next participants as Chris Allen runs down with a pull cool to even the numbers. Megan Bain stands up to her only to be dropped to the mat before landing in an attack from the turnbuckle. At ringside, we see Queen Abnada keeping Penelope Ford from getting involved and back in the ring. We see a moment between Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander that is interrupted by Megan Bain. The regaining woman world champion goes at it with Megan Bain. The two women exchange strikes as we go to another commercial break. Back from commercial break, Harley Cameron and Megan Bain can be seen fighting it out on the side of the cage before Harley Cameron sends the Magnus down and lands a crossbody on three women, sending them to the mat. The countdown brings out the next participants. Mercedes Moné has her belt collection on display, casually making her way to the cage. She goes after Will Nightingale first, sending her to the corner before going after Chris Statlander, who turns things around before looking for a tombstone onto her title belt. Mercedes Moné counters out, landing a head scissors takedown instead that sends Chris Statlander to the mat. She leaves the cage, bringing some of her belts from ringside into the cage and holding them to her teammates. They go to work on their foes, landing some hard shots on each woman as the countdown brings out the next participants. Mina Sakura coming out, whirling a barbed wire bat. She tosses towards Megan Bain, distracting her from dropkicking as things turns around for her team. Mercedes Moné fights her off as the countdown gives us our final participants for the baddies in this match. Maria Shafir leading through the crowd. The battle quickly spills outside the cage as Maria Shafir pulls out a bed of nails for near ringside before Chris Statlander goes after her, which turns ugly quickly. And when Maria Shafir sends the champ onto the bed of nails, one of the refs check on Chris Statlander as the countdown gives us the final participants, Timeless Toni Storm. Blood and guts, the match beyond, if you will, officially begin. Toni Storm attacks everyone, and she can with a pearl necklace, as Will Nightingale sends Julia Hart to the corner in the other ring. Maria Shafir goes after the offense as Toni Storm tapes her hands and dip them into the pile of glass. Death match style. She fends off Megan Bain and Maria Shafir before embracing Mina, and the pair go after their future tag tournament opponents. Across the way, we see the baddies of Rap going to work, and their squad is in control. And we go to another commercial break. We come back from commercial break to see Jamie Hayter and Scott Blue finding it out on the side of the cage before Jamie Hayter sends Scott Blue through a table, where sort of the table doesn't fully break upon impact, and as we see Julia Hart and Nakala getting spread to the mat by Will Nightingale. Mina lands a DDT on Megan Bain and her to the canvas as well before Maria Shafir lays Mina only to be dropped by Toni Storm, who in turn takes a kiss in a money maker by Mercedes Moné. She turns around to see Harley Cameron with Minnie Monet ripping the puppet off the reveal as a brass knuckles. Which goes right to her head as Harley Cameron drops her to the mat. In the midst of the chaos, we see Dakala and Julia Hart sneak out of the cage through the truss, with Julia Hart demanding the key to the cage from one of the officials. We get dropped by Dakala, allowing Julia Hart to grab the key. They unlock the door, and the chaos spills out, and we see Jamie Hayter, Harley Cameron, and Mina stepping out. Harley Cameron and Jamie Hayter get dropped to the floor before Chris Statlander intervenes, and she goes after Mercedes Moné, who is climbing up the side of the cage. Chris Statlander traps her future challenger legs in trust before sending her up on her shoulders with the to send the Ultimate Monet through her championship belt through the championship table with a Samoan drop. Back in the ring, back in the cage, we see Tony Storm going after Sky Blue and Maria Shafir with a shoe before dumping out a pile of glass, with Maria Shafir being sent into the pile by way of a DDT from Tony Storm and Mina. Tony Storm grabs a mirror, propping it against Maria Shafir for a hip attack, but Maria Shafir throws the mirror at the face of Tony Storm and said, "That was brutal right there." Rather that means 7 years of bad luck remain to be sent, as she is fended off by Mina, who turns her attention to Megan Bang with the barbed wire bat, using it for damage on a figure for a leg lock and Flair country. Maria Shafir breaks up the submission by stepping on glass nearby and stomping the head of Mina Sakura. The baddies gang up on Mina Sakura when holding Tony Storm, demanding she surrender if she takes off her lover. And the Timeless One does just that to bring the match to an end. The winner of the match, Mercedes Moné, Megan Bang, Maria Shafir, and the Triangle of Madness. This was a good match, but this first match should have been main evented first. Alright, this first match should have been main evented. They should have put the men's blood and guts match first, and then you can do the women's blood and guts in the main event. That gives the women's division more time. But this was a good match, chaotic and brutal at the same time. Maria Shafir music starts to play as the baddies continue to gang up on Mina after the match before the Rev intervenes. Maria Shafir music starts back up as commentary talks about what went down. With that, we move on to a video package hyping a Falls Count Anywhere match between Heyman, Adam Page, and Powerhouse Hobbs coming up next. Commercial break. We head to the parking lot where the Duncans family has gone after Jurassic Express. The Young Bucks, Okada step out, and Josh talks about the message sent. You don't mess with the family. Duncans talks about the Young Bucks hopefully deciding to join their group before the Duncans family walks off. With that, we head back to ringside as Heyman Adam Page makes his way out for the next match. Powerhouse makes his entrance next, heading down the ramp and walking around the double ring setup before stepping in the same ring as Page, with the ring sounding off to get the only non-B&G match underway. So we get the Falls Count Anywhere match. Hangman Adam Page versus Powerhouse Hobbs. And this match right here, I ain't even gonna lie, this was a pretty good match right here. Alright. The two get out training strikes before Hobbs goes for a slam on the champ. Only the turnbuckle falls early on to a ball. Page fights off Powerhouse Hobbs before landing a lariat off the ropes, sending Hobbs to the other ring. Page lands another lariat off the ropes before climbing the turnbuckle, but the Powerhouse dodges him the third time around, landing a lariat of his own to send the champ to the mat. The fight spills to the outside. Hobbs sends the champ into the barricade before sending him back into the ring. But this proves costly as Page gets dropped on Powerhouse while he's mouthing off the crowd. Powerhouse is quickly to turn things around as he sends Page into the ring post and then the barricade. He pulls the ring steps away from the apron, propping the champ against them before charging towards him. But the Hangman dodges, forcing Powerhouse to collide against the steps instead. Page jumps off the steps only to be grabbed by the Powerhouse, who slams him against the apron, and then the announcer table telling Tony Schiavone this is his fault. He continues the damage, slamming Page once more, and we go to commercial break. Back from commercial, Powerhouse sends Hangman Page down with the power slam for a 2 count. He sends Hangman through the ropes to the outside before Hangman Page, before the champ to be to before bringing the champ to announce the table. He nearly loses his footing as he sets up for a powerbomb. This gives Hangman an opening to send Powerhouse Hobbs to the floor with a back body drop instead. The way that Powerhouse Hobbs landed on his tailbone, that gotta hurt. The same way that Nia Jax landed her tailbone on a ring apron, but in a different way. You know what I'm saying? That was a brutal spot right there. Powerhouse Hobbs gets into a chair near the barricade as Paige charges at him, leading to the two slugging it out through the crowd. Paige lands some shots on Powerhouse Hobbs before accepting a drink from a fan, followed by a moonsault sending Powerhouse Hobbs down hard. Powerhouse back on his feet already, but Paige closes on him with a flying lariat. Powerhouse Hobbs invades a dead-eye attempt, but takes a trash bin to the face instead before responding in kind with a spine buster, sending Paige through a table covered by a Powerhouse. But he only gets a two as the champ kicks out. Hobbs brings Paige up the stairs, eventually looking for a world most dangerous slam, but the Heyman fights out of it, landing some shots of his own on Powerhouse instead. Hobbs is in bad spot here, landing on his railing as Paige walk up the steps for a running start. He takes a belt off and lands a shot on the Powerhouse that sends him through the electrical table. We get a small explosion and the lights flicker through the arena as Paige heads down for the cover, picking up the win. The winner by pinfall, Hangman Adam Page. This was a good match. This was a pretty good match, but physical at the same time. Alright. There is a little time for celebration as the Hangman is blindsided by Kazuro Shibata. Samoa Joe is here as well, with the ops going after Page before Samoa Joe calls for the cage to be lowered down. Someone on the production team is apparently afraid of the former champ as the cage is lowered, but not before Eddie Kingston and Hook come down to make the save. The ops retreat to the ramp as Page gets a microphone telling Samoa Joe if he wanted to get the Hangman in the cage, he could have just asked. He tells Samoa Joe to leave Shibata and Hobbs at home because the AEW World Championship match at Full Gear will see Page and Samoa Joe go at it in a steel cage. The crowd pops crazy for this as we go to commercial. While Samoa Joe shows his frustrations about the news. Commercial break. We head to the ringside as Tony Schiavone thanks the fans from Greensboro for their support, hyping up the rich history the city has had in pro wrestling. He introduced Ricky the Dragon Steamboat to a nice pop from the crowd. He shakes hands and gives high fives on his way to the ring. As Tony talks about Ricky Dragon Steamboat history in the city, Steamboat thanks TBS after airing this show before pointing out a fan sign about the Mount Rushmore of Greensboro consisting of Ricky Steamboat, Fair, Dusty Rhodes, and Sting. He talks some more about his history in the city and the business, but gets cut off by the rival FTR and Big Stoke. This gives the Dragon a chance to share a story about Dax Harwood and how much talent he has before Stoke interrupted to introduce himself. At Miss Booth, he compares himself to Denzel Washington before saying Steamboat is synonymous with wrestling history is in the building. Stoke then makes a hard sell for FTR, challenging for the tag titles at AEW for Gear, asking about having one of the greatest front row before asking if he has Macho Man's number. Cash cuts this off to talk up Steamboat some more, acknowledging that he picks FTR to work his final pro wrestling match years ago. Dax joins in the talk about Steamboat being his trainer 13 years ago, calling that a blessing. He learned so much from Ricky, only to struggle thinking of something. He then notes there one thing he did learn, but Steamboat interrupts saying he never taught him that his attitude has gone into the toilet. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm making a video. I'm making the video right now. All right. The one thing that Dax learned was when Ricky Steamboat said, "However much you make save your money," and if Steamboat and Flair had taken that advice, they wouldn't have to be here tonight. Who would have thought in 2012 that FTR will be a bigger name than Steamboat could ever be? This leads to a stare down between Harwood and Steamboat, the crowd chanting the latter's name. Dax tells Steamboat to get out of his ring. Wheeler holds the ropes for the Dragon, and he grabs the microphone to respond. He talks about directions being the better part of Valor, acknowledges his age before saying he will be the bigger man today. He starts to leave the ring, but is pulled back by Cash as FTR looks to attack the Dragon. But out comes Brodito to make the save. Dax gets sent to the corner as Bandito hits a 21 plus on Wheeler before Brody sends him out of the ring. Steamboat gets some shots in on Harwood before Stoke pulls him out of the ring. FTR regroups on the ramp as Steamboat and Bandito stands tall before we go to commercial break. That was a good segment right there. Alright, commercial break. There's enough talk. It's time for our main event. Back at ringside, Darby Allin makes his entrance as the first participant in the Men's Blood and Guts. Out next is Wheeler Yuta making his way through the crowd to get into the cage as we get things on the way. So we get the main event of the evening. We get the Men's Blood and Guts match. Death Riders, John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, Daniel Garcia, and Pac versus Darby Allin, Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, Roger Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly. This match was physical and brutal at the same time, but I ain't gonna lie though, this was a good match as well too. Alright. And yeah, this match was good. Wheeler Yuta is soaking in the hate from the crowd, even leaving the cage to play to them some more. And this leads to a drop kick from Darby Allin, sending him to the barricade. He continues to attack on Wheeler Yuta, turns it around, sending Darby Allin into the side of the cage. He finally heads back into the cage, cutting Darby Allin off at the door by kicking it onto the former TNT champion. He brings Darby Allin back into the cage, calling for the door to be closed so he can inflict more damage on Darby Allin. He sets Darby Allin up against the ropes for some chops, but Darby Allin answers with a DDT off the ropes. Wheeler Yuta heads to the other ring, going for the skateboard Darby brought, but Darby stops him, diving the tacks on the bottom onto his face. The crowd chants, "You deserve it," at Yuta, who answers by attacking Darby Allin as the countdown brings out our next participants, Orange Cassidy. Casually walking down the ramp with his backpack is all Orange Cassidy, who takes his shirt off to enter the cage while putting his elbow pad. He also breaks his own sunglasses, making a weapon to attack the face of Wheeler Yuta with. Darby Allin charged at Wheeler Yuta in a corner while Orange Cassidy puts out a chain from the backpack for a shot to the head. This is followed by Darby Allin climbing the turnbuckle with the skateboard, dropping the tacks onto Wheeler Yuta. Orange Cassidy forgets what this match entails as he covers Wheeler Yuta, only to be reminded there are no pinfalls here, while the countdown brings out Daniel Garcia as our next participants for the match. Daniel Garcia arrives, Daniel Garcia arrives, changes things in favor of the Death Riders being down Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin before using the chain to take control as we head to commercial break. Back from commercial, Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy turn things around as the countdown brings out Mark Briscoe, or maybe not bother because the former Ring of Honor World Champion is nowhere to be seen. This allows the Death Riders to turn the tide as we go back to see Mark Briscoe being attacked by Kyle O'Reilly and Roger Strong come to check on him, with Ladder offering to go out next as he heads down to the ring. He enters the cage to fend off the Death Riders, getting his squad back in control as the countdown brings out Claudio Castagnoli next. He makes a beeline for the cage, sending Darby Allin around with a giant swing, even with Orange Cassidy on his back. He sends Darby Allin to the other ring, where Daniel Garcia goes to work on him for a surfboard before sending him into the uppercut by Claudio Castagnoli. The beatdown continues as the countdown gives us Kyle O'Reilly as our next participants for the non-Death Rider squad. He goes after Claudio Castagnoli, leading to the Paragon getting the upper hand. As in other ring, we see Wheeler Yuta and Dan Garcia going after Orange Cassidy with a chair. Roger Strong comes over but gets kept away by Daniel Garcia as Wheeler Yuta lands a stalling suplex on Orange Cassidy. We see Claudio Castagnoli and Kyle O'Reilly go at it in the other ring as Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta get caught by Orange Cassidy, only to keep him in the corner, while Wheeler Yuta sends Roger Strong onto the chair with a suplex. Orange Cassidy gets into the outside of the cage, trapping him between the cage in the ring as Claudio hits a power driver on Darby Allin to bring us to another commercial break. Let me take a sip of my water. Alright, back from commercial break. The Death Riders are firmly in control as Claudio sends Orange Cassidy to the mat before the countdown brings out Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley comes prepared as he heads to the cage, pulling out a fork as he joins in the beatdown and while focused on Darby Allin. He leaves the cage for a barbed wire bat on the other weapon as the countdown ends, and we wait our final participants as the babyface Eddie Kingston asking what's a babyface. Jon Moxley digs into the face of Kyle O'Reilly, and Renee Paquette reveals that the Don Callis family has been outed as the Assassins taking out Mark Briscoe, meaning that the Death Riders are at 5-on-4 advantage. They grab a bucket, dumping out glasses for a power driver on Orange Cassidy as we go to commercial break. Back from the break, we see Darby Allin climb the side of the cage before leaping off the top for a coffin drop, sending the Death Riders to the mat as the countdown reveals Pac is our final participant as he makes his way through the crowd before entering the cage. Blood and guts, the match beyond, if you will, is now officially underway. Pac charges at a bloody Kyle O'Reilly in the corner before catching Orange Cassidy, who tries to fight back only to take a backbreaker by Pac. Jon Moxley lays out Darby Allin on the canvas, and the beatdown continues as we see Pac run the ropes for a big lariat on Darby Allin. We see Mark Briscoe making his way down the ramp with a toolbox and bolt cutters, navigating the stealing of the key by Wheeler Yuta to break his way into the cage. He goes on the attack until Jon Moxley intervenes, only for Darby Allin to stop him as Wheeler Yuta grabs Mark Briscoe for a fight on the outside. The toolbox is open as Orange Cassidy uses a wrench, and Roger Strong goes after Jon Moxley with a chain. Orange Cassidy goes after Jon Moxley with a wrench now, but Jon Moxley turns it around, and we see Kyle O'Reilly jabbing Daniel Garcia with a barbed wire bat. Kyle O'Reilly is also busted open, but at this point we see Mark Briscoe pulling a table around on the outside. He sets the table up, looking at the cage before Daniel Garcia rushes out with a choke him with a turnbuckle pad, only to take a suplex to the floor by Mark Briscoe. He sets Daniel Garcia up on the table as Wheeler Yuta has rolled off, and Mark Briscoe climbed the top of the cage, only for Daniel Garcia to also roll off the table. Daniel Garcia gets blindside by Roger Strong, who gets a cross arm breaker locked in as As up top, we see Really Yuta has joined Mark Briscoe. The two trade strikes back and forth until Really Yuta gets knocked away, and we see Mark Briscoe bring down a rope and in a carabiner calling for a chair. Kyle Riley helps set the chair up for Mark Briscoe to bring back to the floor, with one falling to the ring. With one falling to the ring. Below, we end up with a chair dueling between Mark Briscoe and Really Yuta. Before Mark Briscoe knocks Really Yuta, Mark knocks Really Yuta down. Really Yuta blocks a J Driller for a low blow, but Mark Briscoe stops himself from falling off the roof, only to take a chair to the head by Really Yuta as we go to commercial break. Back from commercial break, we come back from break as Really Yuta continues to fight Mark Briscoe on the roof of the cage. He's looking for a J Driller of his own, but Mark Briscoe counters out to land one instead, sending Really Yuta head into the roof of the cage back in the ring. Darby Allin is fighting back Claudio with a hammer until Jon Moxley comes in with a fork to break things up. Roger Strong makes the save as outside we see Mark Briscoe has come down to the floor only to be taken out by Pac. Darby Allin comes out to go after Pac, sending him into the barricade before pulling off his belt, only for Gabe Kidd to blindside him with a stun gun. He goes after Darby Allin up the ramp as back in the ring. Orange Cassidy tries to break out of the chokehold by putting his hands in his pockets before running the ropes, but Claudio Castagnoli grabs him, allowing Jon Moxley to use a staple gun to staple Orange Cassidy's hand into his pockets. Over on the stage, we see Pac climb above the entrance tunnel, using the belt to pull Darby Allin up by his throat. A pair of tables are set up besides the tunnel. As Gabe Kidd grabs a couple of bottles of lighter fluid on them before setting up the tables, Al Blaze just as Pac hosted Darby Allin up to launch him down through those flaming tables. Back in the ring, we see Jon Moxley, Roger Strong, the damage done, hoping for a surrender as Gable Kidd is pulled away by AEW security. Jon Moxley goes to the other side, wrapping a chain around Kyle Riley's mouth and throat while changing in a bulldog choke. But Kyle Riley flips him off, refusing to surrender. Claudio intervenes, setting up a chair by Kyle Riley's neck, but Orange Cassidy keeps up. Roger Strong rushes in with a knee strike. We see Pac and Mark Briscoe go at it just outside the cage as Daniel Garcia is sent to the floor first into a table on the corner. He sends Wheeler Yuta onto the other table and then through it. When it doesn't break the first time, Orange Cassidy set up for an orange punch, only to be cut off by Orange Cassidy. Roger Strong distracts Claudio long enough for Orange Cassidy to counter an uppercut into an orange punch. Jon Moxley goes for a bulldog choke, but Orange Cassidy is pulled away by Kyle Riley into an ankle lock. He pulls Jon Moxley into the other ring away from any help. As the other Death Riders are indisposed, Jon Moxley counters out of the ankle lock for a bulldog choke, but Kyle Riley counters that for a cross arm breaker before transitioning to another ankle lock. He hooks a triangle grapevine on Jon Moxley, who has nowhere to go and no choice but to tap out. It's all over as the refs calls for the bell. The winner by submission: Darby Allin, Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong, and Kyle Riley. This was a good match, chaotic and brutal at the same time. This was cinema at the same time. The good guys, aside from Darby Allin, who is still being tended to get to celebrate their win, and several as Blood and Guts and Dynamite comes to a close. and AEW Dynamite goes off the air. Now, AEW Dynamite was a good show, and I give that show a 7.5 out of 10. If you guys enjoy my AEW Dynamite review on highlights, make sure you guys please watch the video from all the way from the beginning all the way towards the end. Hit that like button, subscribe to my channel for more wrestling content I do on the channel. Go check out my WWE NXT review on highlights. Follow my social media down below in the description, and I will see you guys tonight at 5 o'clock again for my upcoming world premiere for my AEW Dynamite review on highlights. Have a great day. Stay safe and always stay positive. Kept your crew, kept your kings, kept your club. Too sweet. I'm out of here. Gang. Mwah. Bang. Too sweet. Gang.